Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm so glad to see you all here. Again, we are joined by Hannah and Molly from YMC, and I'm Heather from the American College Health Association, specifically with the Campus COVID-19 Vaccination and Mitigation Initiative. And this is managing your time and preventing burnout, specifically for student leaders and student ambassadors. So we are thrilled you're here, and I'll turn it over to YMC.
Perfect. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to those who have been here. Welcome for the first time to the people who haven't. My name is Hannah Hickman. We are from YMC. We are a millennial and Gen Z focused full service marketing and communication agency. As we just said, my name is Hannah Hickman. I'm the digital marketing director, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Molly, and she will introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Cool. As Hannah mentioned, my name is Molly. I'm a program manager at Youth Marketing, and I'm really excited to talk about today's topic.
Perfect. So today we're going to talk about burnout, how to prevent it, and how to manage it, as well as staying organized. Let's just start really quick. We're just going to take a few deep breaths in and out. I think it's really important for us to take a few seconds, relax, be calm. If you don't have some water, maybe run and get some water real quick. Iced coffee also counts. It's hot, it's fine. So deep breath in and out. You can do two more. In and out. And one more. In and out. Just a few seconds, get calm, relax, and we're going to talk about burnout for the next half hour. So first things first, you hear the word burnout all the time. What does that mean? So burnout, it's generally defined as chronic exhaustion due to prolonged stress, whether it's emotional, physical, mental. All of these contribute to burnout. Some of these symptoms might include a lack of motivation, a lack of creativity, the inability to focus, the loss of interest in school, work, hobbies, anxiety and depression. These can also be contributing factors to burnout. If you are already struggling with anxiety and or depression, you are also at a higher risk for burnout. And just feeling ill when you're stressed all the time, your immune system tends to suffer and you're more likely to get ill more often and more severely. Right now, as we all know, we've been living through very stressful times. COVID-19 has really exacerbated burnout for a lot of us, especially college students, and especially for those who are talking about COVID-19 with their peers. Life is a little crazy, it's turbulent, and young people, as you are trying to establish yourself as adults in this world, figure out your next steps, COVID has had a massive impact on you, your studies, your life, and so much more. So many of you are probably experiencing burnout, have experienced it, or it might be something that you're worried about. And just as a side note, if you have any questions throughout the presentation or any comments, just drop them in the chat or feel free to raise your hand. So these are some causes of burnout. This is not an exhaustive list by any means, but these tend to be some of the bigger causes of burnout for college students. Some of these you might be aware of, some of these you might be a little bit, oh, I didn't realize this was having such an impact on me. So for one of these, overcommitment. College is full of opportunities. You have classes, extracurriculars, you can meet new people, alternative spring break, traveling, volunteering, and so much more that I can't even wrap my head around. It's very easy to fill up your calendar and it's really hard to say no, which can lead you to overcommitting yourself and running around crazy without having a single break. Class obligations are another big reason that burnout can happen. As a student, classes should be your top priority. While some professors are very cognizant of your workload, both academic and otherwise, there are others who are going to try to make their single class your full-time job. Trying to balance all of your classes, especially during the times where you are taking those difficult, time-intensive classes, can be a huge source of stress. College is the first time a lot of you are living so close to your friends or even living with your friends. It means that your social life is probably the best it's ever been. It's super important to maintain a social life and build friendships and relationships, but being a social butterfly can cause stress and lead you to not having enough time to take care of other obligations. On the other hand, the social aspect can be another aspect of burnout if you're not getting enough. Feeling isolated and alone, especially when you are living away from your high school friends and family for the first time, can also contribute to burnout when you don't have someone to lean on or rely on. As we said, moving away from friends and family, that distance from your support network that you had growing up might also be an additional source of stress. This might be the first time you've ever stayed away from your family or lived far away from your friends. This can leave you isolated without a deep connection, and being away for the first time in your life can be very difficult. And it's important to admit that you miss your family if you really do. World events, we touched on that a second ago, but COVID, everything. I'm not going to list everything. I don't have the time, and I'm sure you don't need to hear it again from me. But we have a 24/7 news cycle. Our phones are in our hands. You're not forgetting anything anytime soon. It's very easy to be overwhelmed and stressed out by these world events, and then trying to balance that with everything else in your life can also be a big factor in burnout. And then finally, this thing I want to touch on is health neglect. Many of you are living on your own for the first time. You're moving to school. You're moving away from your doctors, or your mom used to set up your doctor appointments for you. I know we're all guilty of that. I'm sure a few of us already called our mom our freshman and sophomore years, like, hey, how do I make an appointment? Everyone hates making doctor appointments. Your hectic schedule is really going to make it really easy for you to put off making an appointment. A lot of students who are managing any medical issues or even encountering a new one might also encounter some issues getting in the swing of taking medication, attending appointments, or even accessing medication when you don't have transportation or time, especially when pharmacies are only open during class hours. Not to mention taking the time to address your mental health, and that also takes a lot of time. In college students, that falls to the wayside. And when you're not taking care of yourself, it kind of has this big cascading impact, and this could be an issue and cause further burnout. So these are just some of the very many causes of burnout. Some of these you're probably very well aware of. Some of these you might be thinking about for the first time. Take it in, take a deep breath, and we're going to continue talking how we can prevent and manage burnout.
Yeah, so clearly the best option is to prevent burnout altogether. And there are a couple of strategies that we can touch on to kind of help you in that quest. So the first and foremost is scheduling. Take some time to sit down with your calendar if you prefer like a physical planner like I do, or if you use Google Calendar or you use your phone. It's just kind of what works best for you. It also is better to plan out your schedule in advance and put everything in one place, from classes to appointments to other obligations, even social obligations. And having it all written out in a singular place will allow you to visualize the process of what you have to do, when you have to do it, help you prioritize, and kind of visually assess if there's room for anything else in your schedule. And another great kind of strategy for this is time blocking. So time blocking is basically a time management method that asks you to divide your day into blocks of time. Blocks of time can be 15 minutes or they can be 2 hours. It really depends on what your day looks like. And each block is dedicated to accomplishing a specific task, or like a party of tasks, a family of tasks, and only those tasks. So this can be more helpful than just like an open-ended to-do list that doesn't really help you manage your time, and it can kind of keep your mind in one singular place at once. Another great method of preventing burnout is saying no. It's really difficult to say no sometimes. People always ask you to help out with something, to attend something, or hang out, and we're always inclined to say yes. And of course, you want to say yes. You want to spend time with your friends and family, go out to a concert, volunteer your time in some way, but you are allowed to say no. Saying no is a powerful tool that can help you manage your time and your workload and protect yourself from burnout in general. And there's a very real fear of letting people down, but there's a reason that people ask for your time, usually as a question, because no is a possible answer. And we've included some tools to help you say no in the handouts that you'll be receiving when we send out this presentation, along with some other materials. So stay tuned for that. Taking care of your health. I know that Hannah already touched on health neglect, but this is another really big piece of managing and preventing burnout. It's really important. If you're overworking yourself and neglecting your health, it can kind of snowball and turn into a vicious cycle wherein you're not able to meet any of your obligations or commitments, which then backtracks you and makes you more stressed and more prone to burnout. So we need to make sure we're keeping our appointments, especially doctor's appointments, taking time to check in with ourselves and seeing how we feel physically and mentally. Take stock of what we're eating, how much we're sleeping, how much we're moving throughout the day. if things don't look great on these fronts, it's important to readdress it sooner rather than later, again, to kind of cut off the cycle. And the same goes for mental health. You know, this isn't just a physical element. Take a proactive approach to ensuring that you're not overloading or overburdening yourself mentally. Next is asking for help. Going offline. Essentially, taking a break from social media can be a really great asset for preventing burnout. Social media, as Hannah mentioned, can have a lot of really great benefits, but it can also be a little bit of a cesspool and can be somewhat triggering for us. And so utilizing built-in features such as iOS has focus mode wherein you won't get notifications. There are definitely apps wherein you can limit a certain amount of time spent on an app. TikTok actually has a built-in timer wherein you can pretty much set a passcode after you exceed that time. Of course, you can just kind of enter in your own password, but it kind of helps you manage your time and have a better idea of really how much time you are spending on those apps. And next is asking for help. So asking for help, similar to saying no, can seem somewhat difficult. We're inclined to take things on by ourselves most of the time, but it's very much okay to ask for help, whether that be for school, for work, or for your health, or just for everyday tasks. Your friends and family and other elements of your support system are typically going to be more than happy to help support you. And your university likely has resources that you can take advantage of. So we always recommend looking into that and seeing if there is anything specifically offered by your university to help address this. One example, of course, is professional help. Almost any university will have an extensive mental health support system. So knowing what resources you have available to you is definitely going to be the first step in leveraging this skill of asking for help and ultimately help preventing burnout. All right, so I talked a lot about preventing burnout, but realistically, sometimes if you're already dealing with burnout, there's just not a great way to go back and prevent it. So let's talk about some recovering methods for burnout. The first is identifying stressors. So figuring out what is causing the stress and the burnout can be a really great first step. Taking stock of your schedule and your obligations to see if there's maybe too much on your plate, or is your social life too active, or is your social life not active enough and it's suffering because of other commitments? Are you getting enough sleep? Is your professor just not making sense because you're so tired? From there, it's easy to figure out what the stressors are and how to tackle those, whether it's stepping back or being more proactive. Seeking support, it's always, again, okay to ask for help. If there's a variety of ways to seek support, whether it's asking professors for accommodations or extensions, or working with your university health center, like we mentioned, to take on some of those tasks, or simply talking out with your friends or family or with a professional. Taking breaks, we know it's not always easy and it's not always feasible, but there are sneaky ways to incorporate breaks into all of your life and scheduling needs. For school breaks, things like summer and spring break, make sure that you actually are taking the time to take care of yourself and disconnect and very much use those as a break rather than allowing them to add stress into the school year. And day-to-day, it can be really helpful to schedule relaxation and break time so you have time set aside to do it. This could be a 10-minute walk, a power nap. I know we all have the method of like chugging coffee and then taking a nap. And even just a few minutes of deep breathing. There are tons of apps that I think we're all aware of that can help with meditation or things that are even a little bit more casual than meditation, just guided breathing or that kind of thing. Examining your schedule and commitments. So we've talked about this a little bit already, so I'll avoid being repetitive, but essentially taking stock of all of the things that you have on your schedule and on your to-do list. Are there things that can be moved or shortened or even canceled altogether? rearranging your schedule without reducing your commitments can often free up time for you to take care of other aspects of your life. Setting boundaries. There are times wherein we're asked to do too much or take on too much. This goes right along with saying no. It's okay to set boundaries. Protecting yourself, protecting your time is crucial to preventing and managing burnout. So you can say yes to something, but maybe add some caveats. So saying, yeah, I can help you set up for your event, but I only have an hour. Or I'd love to get dinner, but that just doesn't work with my schedule right now. Let's meet up next week or go for a quick lunch. So it's really important to remember that no is a full sentence if we want to use it that way, but you can also make yes a longer sentence and set your own boundaries. And self-care, I think that this is a term we've all heard a lot lately, but it is really important, even if it's turned a little cliche. It means a lot of different things to different people. So identifying what self-care is to you and incorporating it into your routine is the first step. So it might be napping, or it might be binging TV shows, or engaging with a hobby, taking care of important tasks, cleaning. Skincare is a big one at the moment. So identifying those and making sure that you are taking time to meet your own needs is crucial in preventing burnout. And sleeping, this seems really obvious, but it is something that people, especially people in college, might not get enough sleep. 8 hours a night is possibly not feasible for you right now, but if there are certain things that you can do in your routine or your schedule to ensure that you're getting enough sleep, do it. Improving your sleep hygiene, like not bringing your phone into bed or at least dimming the lights, creating a sleep routine can really help improve the quality of your sleep if you're in a place right now in your life where you can't necessarily adjust the quantity.
Perfect. I also just want to add a quick note. We have talked about seeking professional help. That can get expensive. Many of us are lucky to have insurance. Some of us aren't, and some insurances do not cover mental health resources. Your university likely has some lower cost or sliding scale resources. If you reach out to a local professional, they often also do sliding scale payments. There are some options out there. There are some places that can help you get assistance. There are also a million apps nowadays like Headspace and BetterHelp that can help connect you to counselors. There are awesome options out there, but we also do recognize this comes from a place of privilege. Accessing mental health care might not always be the easiest thing, but if it is something that's feasible, highly, highly encouraged.
Yeah, just as a call out, Heather has some really great resources in the chat for anyone who's looking for a little bit more info there.
Yes, that is a great place to look online. There's a wealth of resources that you can access at any time. So let's talk a little bit about getting organized. This is a really good way to help with burnout and just kind of make it easier to deal with in just life in general. Getting organized can be a really great tool. Getting organized doesn't necessarily mean everything is clean and in a certain order, but it does make your life a little bit easier to navigate. It may take you a little while to find a system that works for you. And there might be times when your organization system just falls apart. That is a great learning opportunity to figure out what exactly works for you, what doesn't, and to get back on the right track. Me personally, I like using a mix of digital and physical tools to keep my life organized. Digital tools are really great because you can sync them across your devices. You can always bring it for you. It's really hard to lose your phone. It's really easy to lose a piece of paper. So some of these tools that might be helpful for you is online calendar. It's a great way to have all your schedules in one place. Platforms like Google Calendar is super easy, and there's other built-in tools to that, like tasks and reminders. The digital aspect is really great because it can help you to edit and set reminders and events very easily. And we're not just talking about those things that are just like, oh, I need to go to class at this time and I have dinner at this time. Schedule some time to take a shower. Sometimes having that on your calendar is going to hold you accountable to that and make sure that you're doing stuff that is beneficial for you, that you need to get done. There are also a variety of online notebooks and note-taking systems. This is great, especially for school, but also for life. A lot of us do like writing things down, but you might lose a piece of paper. You might not have a reminder to tell you that you wrote something down. There are systems like Notion and Evernote and many more now that allow you to divide up your thoughts, notes, and plans into sections. And they provide a lot of customization that can help you take your notes with you wherever you go and have them work for you in a way that makes sense. Another tool that a lot of us use in our schoolwork or day-to-day careers are to-do boards. They're really great in real life as well. If you like writing to-do lists, like I'm sure many of you do, being able to do so online is really great to keep organized and allow you to shuffle things as needed. Some really popular platforms include Asana, Monday, Todoist, just to name a few. There's many. There are also some that are more geared towards work that you can repurpose for your own life. With these, you can often categorize your tasks, and this can really help you a lot with time management and time blocking in the future. Another good thing is organizing your inbox. As a college student, I'm sure you get a million emails. I still have access to my student email, and I still get emails to go to clubs and events, and there's a million reminders about a million things. You can set up your inbox so things are labeled. There's automatic forwards. So say you get these emails from a club that you're not really involved in, but you like know what's happening, but you don't need that in your inbox. You can have it set up so it goes immediately to a folder that you could check out later, but it's not going to be overwhelming when you open up your inbox every day. And with that same with naming conventions, you can set things by priority. You can name things in just ways that capture your attention or just make sense for you. Let's talk about some of those physical tools as well. There's a lot of great ones. Some of us might do a little bit better with a physical tool. Physically writing something down is usually very helpful for many of us. So in terms of that time management calendar aspect, a physical planner works really well for a lot of people. Writing things down with pen and paper does help commit them to memory a little bit more easily than typing. And there's tons of options out there, from the most basic notebooks to super customized planners. I'm sure some of you have heard of Erin Condren, those personalized planners that everyone likes getting at the beginning of the year. Take some time and see if you can go to your local bookstore or a stationery shop and see if there's any that works for you. Also, having a very structured planner or calendar might not be the best option for you. Bullet journal is a really great way to keep you organized in a way that makes sense, where you can really customize it. You can make your own systems to organize these. They also have bullet journals that are already kind of preset that you just kind of plug and play. So those are really great options that you can use if you really want to have write something down. Also, don't feel the need to go out and buy a dedicated journal. You likely have a notebook that you don't use, or you've only used the first few pages of. Feel free to use that. So as a college student, I'm sure you have a million papers and flyers and tons of other things that people have handed to you. It's very easy to toss it around the pile, or to shove it at the bottom of your bag or the folder, or just have a folder in your bag that's empty with all the papers around it. Take some time to invest in some folders or file folders and organize your papers, your important documents in a way that makes sense for you. It just makes it a little bit easier if you have that system in place, rather than getting halfway through the semester, having a stack of papers a foot high and realizing like, I need to go through this and figure out what's happening. If you want to take it even a step further, designate a single place for all this to live. You don't need a filing cabinet, but a desk drawer, a magazine holder, a shelf, whatever works best for you, just so you can find things when you need it. And you're not going to be panicking when it's the end of the semester. It's like, I don't know where my papers are for this class. So when you are busy, cleaning your room is not top of line. You can really not have, you're not gonna have a lot of time. And also when you make your bed, probably isn't gonna be the top of your to-do list. You can really simplify this cleaning and just general life management is by just having enough storage for your items. Everything having a place makes it really easy for you just to know that I go into my room, I drop my keys in this little bucket I put right here, and I don't need to freak out 5 minutes before class and I don't remember where I threw it on my bed. If you have something you aren't using often, consider throwing it in an under the bed container. Add some baskets and containers to your desks, things that you can, or if you have shelves in your room, things that you can just place things in, have a place for it. If you have a designated place to put something, you're most likely to put it in the same place and be able to find it again. Heather has a great comment about living with ADHD. A lot of people with ADHD, it's out of sight, out of mind. I was recently diagnosed with ADHD post-college, so I'm learning a lot of these tools and tips now. But having something clear and transparent, whether it's a box or folders, are really great so you can see your things easily without tearing them all apart. So it's also really important to remember in college, you are given free stuff constantly, whether it's t-shirts, keychains, bottle openers. I can't even begin to count the amount of things I still find in storage for me from college, things I've never touched or used. Just because someone gives something to you does not mean you need to keep it. I'm sure you have a tons of swag. I'm sure you're gonna love it now and maybe not think about it ever again, but you're living in really tight quarters. It's overwhelming to have a lot of stuff. It's okay to throw things out. You could take a note from Marie Kondo and toss the stuff that does not spark joy. Are you ever really going to look at your notes from that class you took freshman year? Do you really need 3 different keychains when you have 1 key? When you have some space and you aren't just overwhelmed by items and having to tear everything apart to find one thing, it can make it a lot easier for you to relax, to accomplish your task, and not be so stressed out later. So these are just some tools to get organized in the more of the getting your life organized rather than the physical, let me put my stuff away. home. So these are just some ways that you can help manage the burnout in terms of just good tools that are very accessible. So we have a few minutes left. Let's talk. How are you managing or preventing burnout? Are there any tips and tricks that you're using to cope? Are there areas that we didn't cover that you want to talk about? Feel free to raise your hand. Feel free to drop it in the chat.
Or if anyone has any good like tips or maybe an app that they really like, you can feel free to drop that in the chat too.
Absolutely. Heather threw a great tip about scanning documents and old class notes for the future. There's a lot of different phone apps that turn your pictures and turn them into PDFs, which makes it really easy for you just to file away in a Google Drive folder or Box or Dropbox, whatever you like using. So that's also a really good way to stay.
I think that the newer iPhones actually have like a built-in scanner. I could be wrong, but I think it's in like the Notes app function, but there are tons of other apps that do it too.
Yes, I definitely can't comment on that as an Android user. But there are a lot of tools out there. Some of them are built in, some aren't, but you have a lot of tools at your ability. And granted, it's very easy to be overwhelmed by all these tools. But there are some guides out there to managing and preventing burnout. So another thing that you might want to consider is also, do you have someone in your life that you could talk about burnout with? Whether it's a friend, a trusted adult, a professor, being able just to talk about it and being like, I'm tired, I'm sick of this, I hate everything. It's kind of good to vent. It's good not to keep it all bottled up because when you do, you're going to explode later. That's very good just for helping managing burnout and maybe even preventing the further issues down the road.
Okay. To that point too, I like pointing out in this kind of topic that burnout is not a competition or like a scale. Like you can experience burnout even if the person next to you is a mother and maybe is more tired or has more on their plate. Your burnout's valid even if you're just young and you don't have any responsibilities. I think that that's something that for people who are young, there's a little bit of a stigma about, you don't know what real stress is. You do. Being in college is not easy. There's so much happening. There's so much information coming at you all the time. So if you are experiencing burnout, first and foremost, just address the fact that it's valid. You're not being lazy or pathetic. It's a real thing. And you're definitely not exempt from burnout just because you're young. Not at all.
Absolutely. It's really important. Everyone's struggles are valid, whether they're big, small, or anything in between. Burnout does not discriminate. A lot of the issues that you might focus with, a lot of other people might be doing that in similar ways or experiencing it in bigger or smaller ways, but that doesn't invalidate your experiences or theirs. So it's good to just be empathetic, lead with empathy when you can, not just for others, but also for yourself. College is a very stressful time. It's a very stressful time in the world in general. Give yourself some grace, give yourself some time to breathe. And it's okay if things aren't going the way you're planning. Nothing really is right now. Just give yourself some grace and be forgiving of yourself. That's going to be very helpful with the burnout aspect and also just general mental health. So I'm not seeing any questions, but we have about 2 minutes left. Heather dropped the link for the GroupMe in there. It's a great way for you all to connect, talk about burnout, maybe give some more tips and tricks to each other. But thank you all so much for joining us. I hope you were able to get some good tools here. In the handouts, you're going to get some additional tools and just some further things that we've talked about. We also understand that some things that we talked about might not be feasible for college students, but it's also just good to keep in mind as you move throughout life and through your career.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for joining, and I hope you learned something.
Thank you all.
Thank you to YMC once again. Thanks so much. We always learn so much from you. The recording of this session and their handouts will be online probably early next week. We're heading into a holiday weekend for at least a couple of faiths. So things are a little busy and condensed. So look for that next week, and I will also post it in the GroupMe. Thanks, everyone. Take good care.